Hello everyone, my name is Moji. You're watching a Bitcoin Bubble news channel. If you could borrow money from anyone, let's do it. A family of one could borrow money through a government-backed bond for 30 years at 3% interest if they owned a lot of property. This was possible in the US 2 years ago. It would be smart to buy Bitcoin if you could do that because it grows in value by 55% a year. To take €1,000,000 or dollars, pay interest of 3% per year for 30 years, and then put the money into something that will grow faster than 3%, right? That's how you really get rich. You have an economy from the 20th century going on a broken system with bad assets. Then there's the digital chance where you can run your business on digital cash that is always available. This means that the cash will be useful for 10,000 years instead of 10 years. Okay, when the only thing that might stop the transfer from happening is tax issues that come up because of where you live, the problem is potentially very small. There is a strong case made by Saylor for why having just 0.01 Bitcoin could make you a millionaire. One of his ideas is that Bitcoin could help solve 50% of the world's problems, especially by fixing the common problem of global financial systems that don't work right. Despite the fact that he knows Bitcoin won't solve all of the world's problems, he is hopeful that it will help fix broken financial systems. Saylor tells everyone to learn as much as they can about Bitcoin and suggests that they do so for at least 100 hours. He said that this would help them learn more about Bitcoin and how it can help the world economy as a strong digital currency. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post alerts so you can see more videos like this as we bring them to you. Add your ideas, comments, and observations to the conversation by writing them in the box below. Everything you do is good for the YouTube system and helps the channel grow a lot. Thanks, and have fun with the movie. That's the world we're making now. There's your chance. Why am I so focused on Bitcoin? Because I believe that within 30 years, very likely within 30 years of when Satoshi created the network, a digital capital market worth $100 trillion could be created, which would transform Bitcoin from a 2% answer to a 100% solution. That raises the economic life expectancy from 10 to 20 years to 10,000 years. That means it's something that can be done. It is not a cure for cancer. We can't get to Mars that way. That is, it won't help with differences in religion, politics, society, or ideas. Someone else needs to take care of those issues. I'm going to leave that's their job, and they might or might not do it. But as a technologist, I think that fire, steel, electricity, oil, internal combustion engines, nuclear reactors, aeroplanes, trains, and simple radio are the most important things that humans have invented. Okay, simple things first, and then Bitcoin digital money. These are the big steps forward. Even though each one made the world a better place, we still use them to fight wars. For example, Stalin used steel and power. That's why you'll have trouble. When I say that Bitcoin solves half of the problems, I really mean it. The other half of the problems will be solved for the next 1,000 years by corporations, politicians, institutions, and thinkers. The first half of the problems can be solved by digital capital. That's fine. A lot has been said about how Bitcoin could replace the US dollar, but Saylor gives a more detailed view of why that idea might not be right. Saylor said that the base case for Bitcoin could be $13 million by 2045, based on what he said at the recent Bitcoin meeting in Nashville. But even with this growth, Bitcoin would still only make up 7% of the world's money reserves in 21 years. Most assets would still be priced in currencies backed by the government. According to Saylor, the world probably won't change so that Bitcoin takes over the whole banking system. He thinks of Bitcoin as a type of digital entropy that can be used as a good option to sovereign currencies without completely replacing them. He thought that Bitcoin and other forms of digital capital would still be used as money even if there was global chaos and anarchy and traditional currencies lost all their value. Next, let's watch some more movie clips. Yes, I did say that in my speech in Nashville a few weeks ago. My base case is Bitcoin grows with an R of 29%. Even if it goes up to 13 million coins in 21 years, that's still a lot of money, right? In other words, if Bitcoin goes from where it is now to 13 million, that's a 200x rise. It would still only make up 7% of the world's wealth. Yes, dollars are a lot bigger, right? Bonds, stocks, and real estate will all still be bigger. You understand. One thing I can see is that the world will always have two sides. There will be money, and it will be digital money and digital wealth. As for the digital currency, I think it will be whatever the world's most powerful countries decide is legal cash. Okay, as I already said, the tax reason is that if China and the US both use the CNY and the USD as legal currency, Then you can change them very often and still have an economic exchange that isn't taxed. That's why it will be the most important currency item. And on the other hand, Bitcoin will become the most important investment. However, people want other things as well. They will still want to be paid. People and businesses will still want to borrow money. Okay, you should borrow money, right? The government will still need to borrow cash. You can still find companies like Apple and Google, and they will still have stock. For some, living in a block or house will still be appealing. Skyscrapers and business buildings will still be there. This means that asset classes like stocks, bonds, and business real estate will keep going as long as people live in the real world. Even if robots do all the work, we'll still have buildings to store things out of the rain and snow, right? Planes will still be around. Trains will still run. They will still be backed by debt or stocked by someone. And business will still be around. Apple does something. The iPhone is made by it. The iPhone can't be made. Because of this, there will be companies as long as workers are able to specialize and there is business. When a commie takes over the world, there is no fairness, but I don't think the world will fall into communism. If all nation-states fell apart and there were no longer any nation-states, there would be no fixed currency. But I'm not predicting that will happen. A world without Apple and country-states is not a good world, in my opinion. Okay, that means I'm not a true anarchist, so I don't think the dollar will go away. There's no doubt that the dollar is the most important currency, but I don't agree with the claim that Bitcoin is against the dollar or the currency. I think it's pointless, destructive, and doesn't get to the point Bitcoin is capital, and it's really demonetizing real estate, stock portfolios, and bond portfolios that are kept as capital. That's a $400 trillion market that can be reached, and Bitcoin is a tenth of that. That being said, if you're going to fight, why not fight with cash, buildings, and companies whose stock prices are too high? They're not going to put you in jail, right? They don't have troops. They are really the enemy, though. I mean, the enemy is the $400 trillion I put into buildings and companies that were worth more than they were worth. I could have also just put it into Bitcoin, which would now be worth 400 trillion Bitcoins instead of 1 trillion. Why don't you just focus on that? Getting rid of banks and the government is the only way to do that. When chaos breaks out, you're not protecting yourself from anything because they'll just set the city on fire. When Michael Saylor talks about MicroStrategy's Bitcoin strategy, he stresses that any company can use a similar strategy, which is why he has been pushing for it. From his point of view, if you can borrow money at 3% interest and buy something that will grow in value by 40% every year, it makes perfect sense. Saylor thinks that knowing how an asset will move over the next 20 years is the most important thing. You can borrow money at 5% a year, so if Bitcoin goes up in value by 55% a year, you're getting 50% a year on every dollar you borrow. To make $500 million a year, you need to borrow $1 billion. Okay, but if you could borrow money from anyone, let's do it. If you are a single family with a lot of property, you could get a government-backed mortgage that would let you borrow money for 30 years at 3% interest. That's what happened in the US 2 years ago. If you could do that and your Bitcoin value rose by 55% a year, it would be a good idea. To take 1 million euros or dollars, you